Well, hello world. Sorry I'm looking a bit of a minger today. Had a night out last night, so I'm feeling a bit worse for wear this morning. Um, well, this afternoon now actually. I'm here today. I'm just going to talk about a little bit of bigotry that exists in the music business, really, because it's getting on my nerves a little bit. Now, if we go back to the 80s, when I was growing up, when I was a young scamp, as it were, had people like Nick Kershaw, for example. Now, Nick Kershaw was a singer, popular singer, solo singer, electronic music in the 80s. His famous hits were things like "I Won't Let the Sun Go Down on Me" and "Wouldn't It Be Good." He also, in the 90s, wrote "I Am the One and Only" for Chesney Hawkes. He was married at the time, and he was strongly discouraged from wearing his wedding ring in publicity shots and whatnot, and on the telly and stuff, because no one wanted the young girls to feel that this handsome singer was not available to them, i.e., it was financial decision, really. They felt that the young girls wouldn't be able to cope with a married singer. In fact, while I'm even mentioning that, even John Lennon was strongly discouraged from having his wife Cynthia known to the fans, because again they felt that would be sort of a financial impediment to because this married singer would then not be available to the young girls that were buying the records. Well, again, they didn't keep them secret. Nick Kershaw and John Lennon, they didn't keep them secret in the end. Certainly John Lennon's wife, they tried to for a little while, but then it didn't work, and no one was happy. And then Cynthia Lennon started getting threatening letters and stuff from girly fans, leave my John alone kind of thing. It just all seems just a wee bit silly, really, and I'm sure that the majority of people who like the music and who like the people have got the slightest ounce of common sense to know that whoever it is, whether they're married or gay or whatever they are, that they're not available to them. But it's gone on for absolutely donkey's years. And those two are probably the two examples that sort of really sort of stick in my mind at any rate. But going into the 80s then, still in the 80s, we had people like George Michael. Now, George Michael's manager, who was a man called Simon Napier Bell, wrote this book called Black Vinyl, White Powder. It's very salacious, and I'm sure that you can guess from the title exactly what it's about. I can't find my copy, which is a bit annoying, really, because otherwise I'd have read the chunk to you. But he and George Michael, at the beginning of Wham's career, this is Wham we're talking about, but at the beginning of Wham's career, George Michael came out to Simon Napier Bell as being gay. Simon Napier Bell was gay himself. And again, they made this decision that they were going to keep it secret because of this availability to young girls kind of thing. There were messages in George Michael's songs that would of the Wham era that perhaps he wasn't straight, because you can only write at the end of the day. Yes, you can try and write a generic pop song that's going to appeal to everyone, but there's always going to be a little bit of you that's in there. And the one that kind of really sticks out to me is "I Don't Want Your Freedom," which essentially there's a lot of the stereotypical. I'm not going to say that it's 100% true, because it isn't, but there is a stereotypical kind of gay relationship whereby the two partners are loyal to one another, but that they don't mind if they kind of play around, as it were, and have other partners, provided that it's just a sort of one-off fling and not and that they don't go off and have a full-on fling with them. Do you know what I mean? And that is essentially the kind of relationship that George Michael is singing about in Freedom. And as far as I'm aware, those kind of relationships are not kind of heterosexual relationships. There's a whole lot more emphasis on loyalty in those kind of relationships, and that for a girl to suggest this part-time love, as it were, that George Michael's singing about, it's just not feasible in my opinion, really. And so therefore, that is essentially George Michael singing about gay relationships, but it was kind of disguised. Okay, so it was purely a financial, let's sell as many records as we can to young girls who believe you're available kind of decision, and it's still going on, even when you have out gay stars singing to people, and writing their records, they don't sing he or boy or man or whatever, and I just think that it's a great kind of insult to the music buying public to think that people of whatever sexuality or gender cannot cope with that, and in fact I know that because if you go back to the 80s, and you go back to Bronski Beat and the Communards, now at the time they were seen as being a bit kind of militant because and a bit controversial, but they still sold heaps of records, and they were still three gay blokes, i.e. the Bronski Beat, and two gay blokes, i.e. the Communards, who Jimmy Somerville was the lead singer of Bronski Beat, and he was the lead singer of the Communards as well. The Communards was what happened after Bronski Beat split up. They sang he, they sang boy, they sang man, and there was no nobody sort of really batted too much of an eyelid, and they sold heaps and heaps of records. You see, even Erasure, who Andy Bell, who's another gay bloke, still did not sing he in his records. And you just think why? I put a song on here. Can't remember the title of it now. Is this because I'm on the spot here, sort of making this up as I go along, as it were. But Hideaway, that's what it was called. And I put that song on YouTube a few weeks ago, and still, although it was obvious what he was singing about, i.e. a young man coming out to his parents, it still was not made absolutely explicit on there, and it's such a shame, because what's actually happening is that gay audiences are being marginalised and just kind of, we'll have a nod to them, but, we're not actually going to acknowledge their relationships and their lifestyles as being valid, and that's the crux. That and it is an insult to the record buying audience, because an entertaining singer is an entertaining singer. Gay people have bought records by heterosexuals for several decades now, ever since the inception of pop music, and still gained value out of them, because pop music essentially is entertaining because it sings about the lives of ordinary people, and for it not to sing, for there to be an element there that is clearly gay and not singing about the lives of of gay people, and except in the kind of "I don't want your freedom" style kind of disguise kind of thing. I just, it doesn't sort of ring true with me, and the only reason why I'm making this video is because very recently I bought this album a couple of weeks ago, Sam Smith in the Lonely Hour. It's a lovely album, Sam Smith. I do like it, but again, it's you all the time. It's you, and again, if you look at what he's singing about in here, it's obvious. It is purely, completely obvious in lots of songs that he's singing to a bloke, except that he won't call him that. Again, because of the, alienating the female audience. Now, I have nothing against females, but most females can cope with a gay bloke and will still buy his records. Now that this man is out, I don't know very much about him, but now that this man's out, it would be nice to actually have him acknowledge his gay audiences as well, okay, and actually be a bit more honest in the songs, okay. Again, what have I got in front of me here? Adam Lambert, again, another gay singer. And this album, is far more sort of hedonistic. But even the Semi-Precious Weapons, who sing extremely hedonistic songs, still will not sing about being gay. Justin Tranter, I think his name's Justin Tranter, something like that. Is it Julian? No, it's Justin. I'm sure it's Justin. But yeah, I mean, he again, is singing about clubbing and all the kind of sort of hedonistic traps that people fall into. I was going to say young people, but nowadays, I mean, I'm not young and I still go out clubbing and whatnot. So it's singing about the lifestyles of a huge section of the public, but not singing he. And I just think that the time has come now. I could have understood it in the 60s if you had gay singers or whatever, when the legality, certainly in this country, it wasn't legal till 1967, which is it's absolutely shocking. But with all the movements now to try and get equal rights for people, and get gay people permission to marry and all that kind of thing. It's just a shame, really, that still the record industry is so concerned with its financial kind of gain, really, from trying to appeal to as many people as possible. But actually, they have no idea who they're appealing to. They have absolutely no idea, really, and I think they should just let the songwriters have a little bit more artistic freedom and write and sing songs about he, if that's what they want to do, because then I think you'll find that there'll be better role models and and better kind of examples to gay people growing up and gay people not growing up, like me, who kind of just would like to see themselves a bit more reflected in the songs. That's all, really. All right, see you later. Bye.